Welcome to the Anonymous Podcast. Well, of course, you stay anonymous. If you want to come on and have a conversation with me, I never tell your name. Around here, we just keep everything a secret. Now, if you want to come and DM me, have any questions, my Instagram is Trevino underscore photography 8. That is TREVINO underscore photography. That is PHOTOGRAPHY 8. The number 8. So on this podcast, what you can do is call me or you can DM me and we can have a conversation live, or we can come on and I can discuss things that you have a question about, or with your personal relationships or just your personal life. Some people might just need somebody to talk to. I also have a co-host. She able to provide different sides of the world that I haven't experienced, different background of living and on the female side. Say hello.
Hey everyone.
All right, so let's get straight to it. All right, let me check this DM. Let's see what we got. All right. All right. All right. Here go one question. I am 25 years old. I'm a female, and I was wondering, do your upbringing affect your personal life as an adult, and what do you think about this? Can you please tell me something, or what do you guys think about this? Okay, I'm gonna let you get it first. This is a female, so what you think about her question?
I do think that your upbringing can affect you. I think that we're all somewhat shaped by our parents or whoever kind of took care of us, whether that's a single parent home, two parent household, grandparents, other caregivers. I think that, you learn a lot as a kid. You look up to these people who are supposed to be taking care of you, raising you, and whether or not you realize it, you kind of grow up doing the exact same things that they do, even if that is, a mannerism that they always do. Man, maybe it was growing up, they used to click a pen all the time. And so here you are as an adult and you find yourself clicking a pen out of a habit. I think that you can grow up and be like them, and then it can have a positive effect on you. But I also think there can sometimes be a negative effect.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially, growing up in homes, being, as a guy, let's say if you grew up in a single parent home, a lot of times, I think with guys that affect us differently. I don't know with females. I'll let you answer that. But I know, as being a guy growing up in a single parent home, a lot of times you find, you look for your mom for a lot of security. Like, she might, you talk to her about personal things, to say as far as like women and things like that. But growing up, you look towards other things. Like a lot of times, guys look towards sports. What you think about, is let's say in a partner, do you think your upbringing affects the partners that you might choose, and how do that work?
I think so. I think for females, a lot of times you'll see that they try to date, or maybe not try to date, but are drawn to men who are either very similar to their dad or male figure in their life, uncle, grandfather, or they go complete opposite. Just, and they've turned a 180 and want to be completely away from their dad, or whoever was their male figure in their life. And so I think that that can be something in a good way. If you had a male role model, a male figure in your life that provided you with an excellent example of what it was like to be a husband or a brother or a friend, or just whatever it is, then you grow up and you see that and you want to have that in your life. But if you didn't, maybe you grew up seeing an alcoholic, or you grew up with someone that was, in the home but not in the home. I think sometimes we can, as kids, we get so used to that we have different coping skills, which is another conversation. But we can definitely be drawn to having this same style of a person, same style of a relationship that we possibly saw our parents have.
Yeah, that would make sense. Do you think you say as a female as a whole? I know you can't speak for everyone. Do you think a lot of females in society hide the way that they feel about their partners, or hide the way the situation is going at home, or you think I know a lot of times on social media, I call it showing your highlight film. A lot of people only show, the great things in their life and never talk about their downfalls or the problems that they have at home. Do you think do you think a lot of females at home might be having issues? And if so, how do they go by handling these with their partner?
I think that, it's really hard to speak about a lot, like you said, every female, but when anybody scrolls through social media, everything is always only the happy side. I know that the younger generation is definitely putting on display a lot more of the downside or the negative, or what we might call like the bad side of something, and we might say they putting all their business out there, and you see all the stuff that's not that great. But I think a lot of people still only put, like you said, like what you call their highlight film, because they want other people to think, oh, I have a good life, a good job, a good house, my kids, or, whatever it is that you have in your life, you want people to think that it's just great. And so I think that there are probably a lot of people who are unhappy, but they don't want other people to know it. So they put the highlight films, or they keep it to themselves. And you see, for women, I think kind of a downside is that society tells us sometimes to just be in our place, and sometimes we feel that way. Maybe it's due to your upbringing. Sometimes it can be taught that way in certain households, that the woman is subordinate and is submissive, and so you don't feel like you can stand up and say, hey, I don't like that, and let's talk about it in a healthy way, which is, anytime you have a relationship or a friendship and something that you don't like is happening, you should be able to talk about it when you have two healthy individuals in that situation. But a lot of times I think women that, just what I've specifically been around, I think can be afraid to speak up, because we've been kind of told that we don't want to ruffle any feathers, don't hurt anybody's feelings. We're supposed to be the caregivers, the providers of emotional support. But you know what? We need emotional support sometimes too, and it shouldn't just be all about our job in that aspect.
Yeah, and that's interesting. My background, my upbringing in the African American community, a lot of times, they see women as being, I guess, having an attitude, but I don't think that's always the case. You know, coming up in the household, I always was told, you don't have to just put up with anything. You don't have to let people do you any kind of way. You can stand up for yourself, and if that causes you to be by yourself, well, the person that you need to be with eventually will come and be with you. And you don't have to put up with like a whole lot of foolishness from a man or a woman. Do you think, in your opinion, someone is, let's say if you have a relationship and you get out in that relationship, do you think it's better to be by yourself, or is it better to deal with something and be unhappy and to be with somebody that you don't love? And I know that sounds like a crazy question, but on one end you with someone, and so at least you have company. But on the other end, if you're by yourself, they can become kind of lonely. So what you think about that part?
I think it's better to be by yourself than to be just in relationship or with someone just so you're not alone, because being single or not dating or whatever, not in a committed relationship, you don't have to be alone. You can find activities with your work, or you can find social groups. You can do local activities with if whether it be different things in your community. You go to the gym in your community and you start to find what is everybody maybe involved with. You go to coffee shops, see what's going on. You get on different apps and you see what's happening locally in your neighborhood, and you go be a part of it, so that you can spend time around people but also still have your own time at home to relax and reflect and do the things that you need to do on your personal level. I think is way healthier than being in a situation or a partnership where you don't want to be with that person and you're not fulfilled and you're not happy, but you're just with them so that you're not alone. And you're right, like being alone, that has a whole other basket of worries that can bring, because you are isolated. But I think that when you're not in a partnership that you're unhappy with, you can find different groups of people to hang out with, different friendships, and maybe you can just be involved with a lot more community activities. Maybe you want to be a part of like the little kickball club, or you want to find a reading club that you can be a part of, and you'll have you'll fill your time with positive people and positive situations, instead of being in a partnership where you just feel frustrated, or you're just like, oh, I don't even want to go home. I just want to sit in the mailbox and not even go in the door.
Yeah. And my opinion on that, I definitely agree with you, because I know it it doesn't make sense to be in a relationship that you don't love where you are, because a lot of times you can block out the person that might be for you by telling them, I might have a girlfriend, I might have a boyfriend, and that could be your person that, whatever you believe in, God or whatever, a higher being, that could have been a person for you, but you ran them away because you were so caught up in this foolishness that you're dealing with. But going off of that, how many, in your opinion, how many women you think can talk to like their family members when they have problems? Because I know a lot of times that's all you have. You might speak with someone that's a friend, you know, in today's time, you don't know if they have your best interests at hand. Sometimes you don't know if your parents or your shoot. A lot of people, you don't know what to expect when you're talking to people nowadays. So what do you say about people that you find out that they might find out their parents don't have their best interests at hand, or like, how do you identify that?
When it comes to like a number, of course, you're just kind of making it a statistic up, but I do think that, the more and more you talk to people and you get to know people in your own generation and maybe a little bit younger than yourself, that you start to see that there's a lot of people who have strained relationships with their parents, or they even just disagreements, like not strained relationship, but that they just see differently on social issues, religion issues, living situation issues, school issues. Like you disagree on a lot of things, and so you kind of have that barrier up in your relationship. I think that people would be surprised if they would sit down and talk to people how frequent that is, but also how frequent that is, yet we still have forced relationships with family members or friends who we know aren't healthy for us. We know they don't have our best interests at heart, but again, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want to ruffle the feathers. We don't want to ruin holiday time, or we don't want to ruin a long-standing friendship because of how we've been raised. Like, don't make a mess out of things. I think that it's really hard to navigate for people to come out and talk about, especially as females, because we don't want to be seen as weak, because that's how society portrays us anyway. So I think that it's more common than we think, and I think that the more people will start talking about it, maybe we can actually make it more of a comfortable topic, because I think that's what it is it's uncomfortable for people to say, you know what, it's best for me to sit this one out and not have this friendship or not have this contact. I think you're seeing more and more people go non-contact or go kind of ghosting, friendships and family ships and everything, because it's like, I have to do what's best for me. There's more and more out there in the social media world showing us that it's okay to talk about mental health. And I think that's a good move, because people are coming and talking more openly about, the generational trauma that they had, and they want to break those curses, and they don't want to raise their children that way. They don't want to have partnerships, and they really have recognized that how they grew up, or people that were in their life, are for a season. You hear that a lot. Oh, some people are just for a season. And I think, the generations as they get younger are doing a better job at recognizing that earlier on, instead of being in their 40s and 50s and realizing, like, man, that was a waste of my time to argue with that friend or family member.
Yeah, I can see. I really understand what you're saying. And that's kind of close to home. I do have a question. Have you ever heard of trauma bonding?
Yeah, I have heard of it, and I know that it's a term that is kind of loosely used out there. Again, like, social media has everything, and but at the same time, I think there's a lot of good information out there if you can really get connected to not just like mental health professionals, but people who spent time like diving into that topic, talking to people, researching it, understanding like what does that mean. And I do think that it's a real thing. I don't have a lot of understanding in all the background of it. I know there's different, like, kind of like different steps to it that kind of like let you know that that's what you've been in, dealt with, whatever. But I do think that that's a real thing, and I think that trauma bonding is something that they need to talk more about when it comes to relationships, not only partnerships but friendships, family relationships. I think it's something that's kind of important that we should learn a little bit more about.
Yeah, and to give a small definition of it, it's pretty much being in kind of like in a relationship, and you don't know how to escape. You feel like you can't get out of it, and there's no way to get out of it. No matter if that's just walking out of the door and escaping and disappearing, you feel like you just can't leave. You guys really should look it up. We'll have an episode where we dive really deep into it, because it's very interesting. I think a lot of people do go through that. Um, uh, Another question I could have for you is, if you had to say, percentage wise, how many women out here you think, like, just in your opinion, might be dealing with a situation that they have a guy that's mistreating them? It's kind of like earlier when I was talking about, but meaning like, they might have to come in to see him more than he might come see them, and just don't really take care of them the way that they should be taken care of. What you tell them, it's on them to do what they want to do. But in your opinion, what you think they should do?
I think you have to find somebody that you can talk to. Um, I think that's the first step. Is if that's obviously an unhealthy relationship, and you're not able to say, hey, like, I feel like I'm being mistreated, or I feel like things are unfair, or we need to just, we need to sit down and have a conversation about that. If that's something you don't feel like can happen, I think you got to find a confidant. I think you got to find somebody who you can sit down with and explain everything. But the tricky part is finding someone who's gonna be, yeah, your friend. A friend can be unbiased, as much as possible, and that's great. But they have to have your best interest at heart, not, a friend who just wants you to come back to hanging out with them, or family members that just only want to have you around and not have anybody else around, or situations where they can benefit from you losing this relationship, but really having someone who can sit down and kind of help you see all sides of it. Maybe you're tripping. Maybe you're the one who's thinking that it's unfair, but when you look at it and you explain to somebody else, they're like, no, like it's really not unfair. Like you just, maybe you're being too sensitive or overreacting, because I know people can do that. But I think that that's the first step to being able to understand like what you're going through is not normal, is by having somebody you can communicate with. Because the worst thing I feel like people can do is hold all of those emotions and all those feelings and thoughts and everything to themselves, because that's just not going to do anything good for you. It's going to just manifest.
If you had to, I'm gonna let you into my mind as a male. I've been picking your brain, and as my co-host, I probably do that a lot. If you had a question for me about why guys may do something or why they react to things a certain way, hit me with some questions. What you think that you want to know something about?
I guess women want to know like why do so many men seem as though it's easy for them to just mistreat women? Like, well, I guess what I mean by why does it seem easy is, when you look at things, why does it seem as though toxic relationships have a bigger effect on the female than the male? And I know we're talking about male female like hetero relationships, but that is what we're discussing. And so yes, there's toxic relationships in all forms of relationships, but specifically speaking, like why is it that females are typically affected more in a toxic relationship than a dude?
Well, well, just to let it out, you have to understand that some people are not good people, and they're just point blank. A lot of people say, "Oh, he can change. He can do the right thing." Nah, maybe he was brought up being a terrible person, and maybe he wasn't brought up being a terrible person, but he's just a straight up terrible person. You can't change these people, and it doesn't matter what age. They could have been 18 when you met them, 20 when you met them. If they was a bad person then, they're a bad person now. People don't change like that. I don't care. I don't care how much you pray for them or whatever. Some people are bad people. There are bad people out there. And the reason I say that because I know for a fact that, you have guys out here dating girls and stuff, and they have no intentions on being serious about them. And the only thing they want to do is sleep with them and move on to the next person. For guys, it's kind of, well, for some guys, because there are good guys out there, and you have to understand it also. But for some guys, it's a game to them. Some guys, they emotionless. They don't really like have emotions behind the things that they do. So they might kiss a girl and it's just an act with no love behind it. They might sleep with a girl, no love behind it. And it's a sad truth because see, females a lot of times, and correct me if I'm wrong, in y'all relationship, and especially a sexual relationship, y'all connect a lot of emotions behind it. But with guys, it's a lot of physical, and that's why like a lot of guys just don't care. And to tell the straight honest truth, sometimes some things be wrong with these people out here. And I know it sounds like a joke and it's funny and people poke fun at it and stuff, but some of these people out here are kind of crazy. And I do understand like when women say that they're scared to go on dates and scared to do a lot of stuff because they just don't feel comfortable, and they have 100% the right to be terrified, because there are guys out here that are just doing bad stuff, and that's just it. But there are some good guys out here. Now the bad thing is you have to find out how to distinguish between the two, and that's the hard part.
Yeah, I think that's that's a life lesson in itself. Is how do we, teach young people how to recognize the good in people, how to recognize the bad. I know it's a trend on social medias with red flags and beige flags and, all these things to recognize in people. But without the social media world, just how we raise our children or how we are friends to people that we care about, how do you teach someone to recognize the bad in somebody?
Well, first off, I see a lot of young ladies, maybe 18, 19, 20. You have to start off by listening first. You have to be aware though, all the guys that act like they're kind of like giving you advice, they doing it on the back end to get something from it. And I know you say, "Oh man, God, everybody's not like that," but you got to kind of feel. You can feel when somebody's trying to like trick you. You just have to pay attention to yourself and pay attention to your feelings. You can feel it. A lot of times, you have guys that they like to do stuff like, imagine an animal when they catch like maybe a deer, a lion catch a antelope or something. He always like to pull it back to his den. Now, if you think back, if you was dating somebody and stuff, they always want you to come to their house. They don't want to come to your house or take you nowhere. They always want you to come to their house. And when they had you at their house, they was more aggressive, more talkative. But when they had you somewhere else, they was less talkative and they seemed like they were just out of place. People like that, it's like this animal instinct. They always pull you back where they feel safe, where you feel uncomfortable and you're away from all your power. And that's the first red flag. Sometimes you have people that you talk to or date, or guys you first started talking to, you never hear nothing from them until they want something. And then when they want something, they get straight to the point. Hey, you coming to see me or whatever. But they never like have a whole full conversation with you, leading up to that point of saying, you ought to come see me. I really want to see you or whatever. They just straight to the point. They real straight to the point because in their mind, they just want to get whatever they want to get from you. If that's money, attention, sex, whatever. They just need you to come up there and see them. And then after that, they'll ghost you or like they never have conversations about nothing. And it's the sad truth. It's a lot of people like that. But remember, it's also good people out there. So you have to kind of like, distinguish between the two.
Yeah, and I think now, like, we've got friends who are in the dating scene, and some that don't want to be in the dating scene anymore. And you can kind of understand why, because it's really hard sometimes to distinguish the good and the bad and be able to like take care of yourself, but also put time and energy into someone else that you don't want to, especially as we get older. You're like, oh, I don't want to waste my time. And so you try to find the good and the bad as fast as possible. And then you might be left after one or two dates saying, oh man, like I've got to try, find someone else to date. So I think that's just, it's so hard because also you've got people who are really good at hiding their bad. They're able to use maybe their intelligence or maybe some skill set that they learned from their home training, and that what do you think about that? Like, how do you think that that's looking on your end?
Well, I know a lot of guys like to use the Bible. And people get mad at you and stuff, but that is a secret weapon for a creep. They like to use the Bible because they know like they can make them feel bad. I make her feel bad. She know I'm a God-fearing Christian man or whatever. But in the back of their mind, they know they really trying to bamboozle you or get over on you in some kind of way. So they're always talking about, well, I'm going to pray and all this stuff like that. But then all of a sudden you feel kind of out of place, like, man, if you're a religious person, why he just did that or why he just said that to me? Because that's his way of breaking down your wall and getting to your personal life and making you think he care because he's using the Bible. It's tons of people that do that. They do it every single day. I've seen it. I've seen it with my eyes personally. And it's a sad truth, but that's what people do. It's an easy way, because if you make somebody think that you there for them and you, oh, I'm gonna pray for you and stuff like that, and then turn around and do something evil to them, it's easier for you to come back and say, oh, I didn't mean to do that. We all make mistakes. I'm just a sinner. Forgive me. You know, people out here using those tactics, and they work. I know they work for a fact because I've seen it. I've seen it plenty of times, all the way from the age of people being 21 to I've seen 60-year-olds do it. And the older the person is, the more believable it is, because they for some reason they think that older people are this holy roly religious thing going on. But those are the people that's out here trying to hurt people. A lot of people that's older because they have skills and they've been doing it for a while. And it's just the sad truth. And that's the word that, young ladies and women have to deal with now. I see a lot of women, especially around the age like 50 to 60. I hear guys tell me all the time, like, that's the perfect age to take advantage of women because they've been through a lot of things in their life and they get to the point where they're just desperate. I'm just telling you on this podcast, I'm just telling you the truth of things that I've heard. I've heard people say that they desperate, so then they just try to take advantage of them. They feel like they don't have anything left, and they just put up with anything, and that's exactly what they give them, anything. And it's up to women to identify them things. And I know it's not just men out here doing it, women doing the same thing. But I know for a fact that, like, the women out here, they having a hard time, and they hide it very well. But I'm just here to tell you, like, I understand that you guys going through a lot of things, but you have to talk to somebody and tell somebody.
Yeah, and I think it's, definitely a big, proponent of therapy, but it don't always have to be a professional. Sometimes it really is somebody you met at your job and you just have, you guys bonded and you can talk to them. Somebody you met at the park, like wherever you want to meet somebody. So, I just think it's really important for everybody to have a person that they can go talk to, because it is so bad for your mental health to isolate. And that's how, stuff can just grow and grow and grow if you don't talk about it. And I hope to see that, the things that we see, like the changes that we've even seen in the last 10, 15 years in the college realm. They're talking more and more about things that college students are going through, college student athletes, or things that are going on in their world. And it's happening, talking more about dating violence, talking more about substance abuse, hazing, peer pressure. They're talking so much more openly about that now, that I'm hoping that it just continues to grow and continues to help change like future generations, so that we don't have, the same problem of, well, I just won't talk about it. Because if I don't talk about it, then, it's not happening, or if it'll just go away. And so, I think a lot of people get really annoyed with young people for always putting all their feelings on the internet, but I think that's just better than holding them all in.
Yeah, I think so too. A lot of guys, we kind of hold our feelings in a lot of times, and just, I don't know. I think a lot of guys hold them in, and then one day it just comes out in like this huge burst of energy. And a lot of times, that's how you have people that, you hear stories of guys just, they disappear or they just go away and people can't find them and stuff, and they just isolate themselves. A lot of times these people have been going through things for years and they just never talk about it. Women handle it a little bit different, but that's the way that guys handle it a lot of times. They just keep it to themselves and kind of isolate themselves from their families. But I just, I see things changing. I don't know if it just because I'm getting older. I haven't seen this when I was younger, and you start to be more observant. But I definitely see it's a change. But it's important for people to start coming out and having a conversation about these things, because it's not that you're going to stop people from out here hurting people and mistreating one another, but you can at least have a conversation about it. for people that, can't talk to their family, can't talk to their mom or dad. Because, a lot of times people tell you, oh, just pray about it. Man, I understand that, and you do have to pray about it, and I believe in that. You pray to who you believe in. I believe in that, but you also got to put some work in, because if you just I'll just pray about it, that's just a lazy way. And people that just tell you to pray about it and don't give you no kind of way to like give you a solution to it or to work towards having a solution, they don't know what to tell you, and they just saying that because either they don't want to deal with you or they don't have no idea in the world what to tell you to do, and you need to find you somebody else to talk to. And I just think that it's a serious topic out here, because there's a lot of women out here that the sad truth is want to hurt themselves because they're in a terrible relationship and they just feel like they can't tell anybody. And if anybody want to DM me on my Instagram, I'll definitely address the situation, or you can come on here and speak, and your name will never be given, because it's important for people to be able to get these things out. Because I definitely think it's a lot of people that feel like they can't talk to anybody because, one, people tell them, oh, go see the pastor, but you might not want the pastor to know your business. Don't want the pastor to know all your business and getting up in the church talking about you. Sometimes you just, and maybe you don't want to go see a therapist. You might just want to speak to a regular person, that could feel the same way you do. But I definitely think it's some bad situations going on out here, and a lot of people just can't talk about it. You got older people, 60, 70 years old, they're in a situation that they hate where they at. They hate the situation that they're in, but they don't want to get out of it because they're worried about what other people are going to say. So you imagine being, let's say 18, 20, you get married and you 70, 80 years old, and you've been dealing with the same crap. And then all of a sudden you on your deathbed and you realize you haven't been happy your whole entire life because you was worried about what somebody else was going to say about you. That's tough. And I don't know what to tell you, but hey, you wasted all that time. You can't get that time back. But what's your closing statement? You would like to just tell everybody, we'll come back. We're going to do this every Wednesday, middle of the week, give somebody some kind of motivation to get through the rest of the week. But what would you like to say to somebody, or any kind of advice or anything you've went through, or anything like you would like to tell people, just anything you would like to say?
I just would like to say that, no matter how bad you feel, no matter how crappy something can be, that you're not alone, that you'd be surprised in the people that maybe you work around, go to school with, neighbors with, like, have been through really similar situations as you. Even when things are unspoken, sometimes you can just see something on somebody that reminds you of you, and you can say, hey, I've been there. And so, the goal of anything is, for me, just giving someone like a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen to, something, a soundboard for ideas or advice. I just, if I can give that to one person, I don't know, it just makes me feel good.
Yeah. And I definitely think we're going to keep doing this, because I know I might can get to 10 million people, but if I can get to one person, I've done my job. And I know someone's listening to this, and they're going to feel like we helped them at least get through the day. Because I know sometimes it can be so hard, you can't even get through sorry about that, y'all. Everybody want to drive down the street. But you just feel like you can't get through the day, and just take it in the day at a time. But we hear you, we do see you, and don't feel alone out there. You are loved by somebody, and you are beautiful. Don't feel like some people can't even look in the mirror anymore. Feel like they're ugly. You're not ugly. Trust me. And if you with somebody that's calling you ugly or make you feel ugly, you need to get away from that person. But I most definitely will be on here every Wednesday, and y'all guys stay posted. And just want to let y'all know that we do love you, and somebody do love you. So don't feel alone out there, and just know that we'll be here for you.